Hello everyone, it is our trades back here with another video. If you are on YouTube or X, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe and give me a follow on X. I really appreciate it, guys. Really working hard to try and get the X following up and get the YouTube channel up as well. In today's video, we're going to go through some X commentary on trading. We're going to talk about it, go through some of the community wisdom. I hope that it's enjoyable. We're also going to take a brief look at some charts. Going to take a look at what happened in the market today. It was another down day. I'm going to give you my thoughts on the market moving forward briefly, and we'll get right into it, guys. Before we dive into it, I just want to advise you that this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Trading involves substantial risk of loss, including your initial capital, and even more than that. Do not trade with funds you cannot afford to lose. Apex Trader Funding is a prop firm, guys. If you are interested in trading using someone else's capital, consider using Apex Trader Funding. You can find an affiliate link to Apex Trader Funding on the link below on YouTube. You can also find it on my profile on X. Okay, guys, before we get into talking about some of the community commentary here on X, on the stock market and things like that, let's first take a look here at the S&P 500. Let's take a look at SPY. So if you're on TradingView, guys, it's going to be symbol SPY. Okay. All right, guys. So SPY, as you can see here on the daily chart, SPY reached an all-time high of, let's see, the top left, 613.23. Today, guys, we closed the market at 555.16. So to give you an idea of where we were and where we are currently down about 10% from our all-time high. So we've gone into correction territory. Bear market territory is at 20% from the all-time highs. Generally speaking, correction territory is at 5%. I think 10% is considered also correction territory. But we're getting there, guys. And the general narrative around the market right now is fear around potential tariffs coming into effect April 2nd. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think that from a fundamental point of view, this is a sell the news, sell before the news, buy the news sort of situation. I think that when April 2nd comes around, the market's going to probably just leap higher. I would be watching that April 2nd date very carefully if I were investing right now. Some names that have been pretty popular, guys, have been SoFi. Let's take a look at SoFi real fast. Take a look at the daily chart, guys. SoFi is a financial bank, a fintech bank, if you will. It reached an all-time high of 1842. Today we're trading down at 1185, which represents a 35% sale on SoFi. We are slightly up from our low that SoFi reached on the 11th of March, 2025. This is a name that I see around financial Twitter quite a bit. I'll be honest, just in full disclosure, I own some SoFi. I'm planning to add on to some of my SoFi as well. I think it's something that is potentially undervalued. Another name that a lot of folks like to talk about is Palantir. Let's take a look at Palantir Technologies. Palantir had an all-time high on Wednesday, the 19th of February, 2025. That high was at 125.41, now trading down at 85.85. We take a look here. We had a bit of a run. We had a recent low on Monday, the 10th of March. That low was at 74.57, and the Palantir corrected for a few days and got back up to a high of 98.17. Now coming back off of that recent high. So Palantir is also on a 12.6% sale. Looking at this chart on Palantir, I would have to guess that it's probably going to continue going lower. All right. My thinking on Palantir, just from looking at the chart, is it's probably going to want to dip down into this 73 territory. The next low that I would be looking at would be over here, which is that 65 even territory. I don't know if we get there right away, but based on certain liquidity concepts, I personally would be bearish just on this chart looking at Palantir. Okay, guys, another stock that I hear a lot of people talk about is Hims and Her Health. Again, I'm going to get out that disclaimer that I do own some Hims, and I am planning on buying more Hims in the future. Okay, guys, so HIMS reached an all-time high. I don't know if it's an all-time high, but it reached a recent high of 72.98. We're now a whopping, let's take a look from that high. We're now trading 60% lower, so HIMS has been quite a bit beat up. Now trading at below $30 a share. Quite a few lows here. Liquidity located on HIMS around that 2409. If I had to take a guess, just looking based on this chart, I would say the market HIMS probably wants to get below that $24 mark. And then that's really where I'd be interested in being a buyer is anything below 24. Just to be honest with you, I'm probably going to buy it anyways. Anything below 30, I think HIMS is a pretty good deal. But I would definitely be particularly interested if it gets below the low that was made on January 10th and the low that was made on December 31st, 2024. Those lows come in at 24.09. So I think anything below $24 on HIMS would be a real steal, so to speak. I think it would be a decent buy. All right, let's take a look at some of our Magnificent Seven. Let's take a look at Apple. All right, so it's kind of the same story across a lot of our tech stocks. A lot of fintech names are down. A lot of our big tech stocks are down. Things that make up the Nasdaq Tech Index. Apple had a recent high of 260.10. Apple is now trading at 217.30, and that is a decline on Apple of 16.5%. So definitely not quite the same level of decline as we saw in some of our previous examples. Looking at the weekly chart on Apple, I think this is another example of a chart that, technically speaking, probably does want to continue going down. Where I think that the market at least wants to go is probably below that low that we made a couple weeks ago at 208.21, if I had to hasten a guess. Although this, let's see here. Um, this low here back that on August of 24, that's another interesting low at 196 even. Again, I think there's not a lot of price action between about 164.77 up to 191, so the market might want to come in and trade back at those levels again. Lots of price action here in the 220s to 230s, but not as much lower. So I think that looking at this market, it's another example of technically speaking, you think it probably does want to go lower. All right. So with that being said, my overall, let's have a look over at the micro ES, guys. These are the ES futures. I'll get on the normal ES futures. We did take a look at SPY earlier. Looking at the ES futures, we reached an all-time high back on December of 2024. ES futures reached a high of 62.35.75. And since then, we are now trading down at 56.02 halves or 56.02.50. That's down 10%. So we are in correction territory. Looking from an ICT perspective, if you were looking at liquidity levels, I would look somewhere around that 54.10. This long wick inefficiency, which ICT talks about. Again, guys, I like to throw in different concepts. I'm not saying you have to agree with ICT. I'm just telling you, if you were looking at this from an ICT perspective, what would be an area of interest? And it would be, in my opinion, this long wick inefficiency from the 55.16 halves down to 52.96 3/4. That 50% point, 54.10, would make a lot of sense for the market, in my opinion, to come down and trade to. I I would guess, guys, based on a combination of technicals and fundamentals, that if we're going to see a big rally come in the near future, I think it comes in around early April when the tariff news comes out. I think that the market's been probably overreacting to this, and in the end, the tariffs won't quite be as bad as the market thinks that they're going to be. Um, and so I think that looking at that first week of April, I would be careful being a seller that first week of April when the news actually does come out. Okay, guys, let's take a look at the Qs, QQQ. And again, this is QQQ. So our technology sector is down from a high of about 540 down to 472, 468. That's down 13.5%. So tech has been beat up more than some of the other sectors. Now let's go to X and take a look at some of our latest postings, guys. So StockTwit says a not so magnificent day for the Magnificent Seven. Google is leading the drop down 4%. So guys, as of making this video, it is Friday, March 28th. Google is down 4%, Microsoft down 2.29%, Meta down 3%, Nvidia down 1.82%, Tesla down 3.5%, and Tesla's already been beat up quite a bit. Amazon is down almost 4%. Apple is down almost 2%. One other thing that I did see mentioned there is let's take a look at gold. And let's take a look at our gold futures. All right, guys, gold has been skyrocketing. If you've been trading gold, it's been basically inverse to the stock market. I think this shows, in a manner of speaking, a flight to safety. Gold now trading at 31.18, and honestly, no signs of stopping. So if you've been holding on to physical gold, if you've been investing in gold, it's done you really well. And from the way that this chart looks, it doesn't look like it particularly wants to stop. So gold is now in all-time high territory. And whether that's a reflection just of the weakness in the market or the strength in gold, that's kind of up to you. But gold is in all-time high territory. All right, from Brandon Van Z, it's pretty rare for Google to be down 5% in a single day, as it is at the moment. This would be the only time in the last year that Alphabet was down this much, absent a direct reaction to their earnings report. So Google, the time that he took this screenshot at 2:45 p.m., that was a few hours ago, Google's rating down at 154.09. Not sure what this histogram is, but that's but I'm going to take his word for it. Yeah, guys, I would say my comment on Google would be that Google is losing market share right now, and I think that generative AI has definitely not worked towards Google's favor, as I use kind of Grok for everything now, and I think a lot of people are starting to use generative AI in lieu of using Google, so I think that Google has some fundamental issues. Watcher.guru says just in over $1.25 trillion wiped from the U.S. stock market today. Yeah, it was a bloodbath today, guys. The S&P 500 or the ES futures were down 2%. Let's take a look at the NQ. NASDAQ, let's see. NASDAQ was down 2.67%. NASDAQ on a daily chart. Now that, talk about a straight down day. Looking at the hourly chart on the NASDAQ, it was straight down the whole day. Somewhat trying to attempt a retracement during the middle of the day, but it was just straight down. And it was the same thing on the ES. There was some attempt to rally at around 56.22, but as the market came to a close, it just went right back down. So really no relief rally. It was all selling today, the whole day. Okay, let's go look at a few more tweets. European Union to make trade concessions to avoid President Trump's reciprocal tariffs. Not to get too much into politics on this channel, but I do think that a lot of countries are going to start folding. The United States is the largest market in the world. It's the largest trading. Everyone wants to be in our market. And this is going to be a pretty controversial opinion, but I'm generally in favor of tariffs. And I think that if the rest of the world is tariffing the United States, we should tariff them right back at the same rate that they tariff us. All right. This is from Jay Waller. I genuinely believe that a man can get as far as he wants as long as he actually visualizes and believes he can get there. Agree with that. Petition to rename the index to the Dow Jones. That's from Trend Spider. Dow Jones trading down at 417.54 now. This is the daily chart of the Dow Jones with a volume profile on the left. If you are a volume profile trader, you can see that we are coming into a low volume node in the 417s on the Dow Jones. Hims the company is not Hims the stock, as Amazon dropping by 94% in 2001 was not Amazon the fast growing company. Again, I see a lot of hype about Hims on my X feed, and so I wanted to mention that. Risking 0.1% per trade. This is from Edward XL, CEO of Goat Traded Funder. Risking 0.1% per trade is not smart risk management. It's a sign you don't truly trust your trading system. It's not caution, it's fear disguised as discipline. Stop pretending you're playing it safe and you're just playing it uncertain. I agree with this take. Yeah, I generally agree with that, guys. If you are taking risk management so strict that you're not letting your trades run, you're probably not doing yourself a service. Today's buys from the Dividend Millennial, SPYI, QQQI, JPQ, Rivian, Amazon, SPHD, and PEY, ending out the week strong. Hopefully he bought at the very end of the day. SPY bulls from Reform Trader. SPX bulls certainly have their work cut out for them after this morning's breakdown. This is a big spot I'm watching for any signs of life. All right. Looking at some prior, this is a chart of the S&P 500 futures. Again, we're seeing some formation where I'm hovering my cursor. That was old resistance. Now forming as new support. I'm going to be honest with you. I think the market goes lower further, even if you maybe see a bounce on Monday. Steve Burns, Meta remains the only Mag 7 stock to trade above its 200-day moving average and has not closed below it meaningfully since January of 2023. So we see this on Meta. Meta showing some strength. Amit Rai, wait for your ads to show and pounce with size to make big progress. We don't get points for being active in the markets every day. See edge, execute edge. Generally good advice. Learn to embrace losing. This is from Peter DiCarlo, P. DiCarlo Trader. The only way is through. Wisdom here. All right. Generally agree with that advice. King Investing picking up Tesla today. Will share my reactions later. Let's have a look at Tesla on the stocks. Tesla down today, trading at a high today of 276.10, making a close at 263.55, low of 260.57. Generally speaking, yeah, I'm going to tell you that I do own some Tesla, but Tesla has been really beat up. Tesla had an all-time high, and now we're down. We're trading down almost 50% on Tesla. So do I see more downside in Tesla's future? Probably down to about 210. I think some folks that have been buying $100 puts on Tesla are kind of out of their minds, but that doesn't mean it's going to turn around right now. Bought two Tesla September 440 calls, sold December 300s, rest in cash. So some people think that Tesla's coming back. Some people buying calls on Tesla. Risking everything, this is Hooked on PA. Risking everything for one trade is like playing Russian roulette with your account. I generally agree with that. SPY 1.8 billion to buy market on close. Brian Feroldi, learn how to convert income into wealth and you'll become financially unstoppable. I agree with that. Good take, good take. All right, this is from Namzes G. This is going to be a long post, and this will probably do it for my video. 2025 forecast heading towards major market top. S&P 500 overall structure is up early in the year. 10% correction, then melts up into major top, followed by 17% drop that kicks off a bear market up till January 17th, 6250, then 10% plus correction by end of Q1, about 5600 target. Buy points February 26th and second half of March. Ideal is March 28th. This is primary buy point for the year, setting up final leg for the cycle. Minor buy point June 27th. Now, this is a lot. I'm not going to read all of that, but interesting take here from Nancy's G. Impossible to be bullish when the market impossible to be bullish the market when the leading sector and everybody's favorite stock can't go up, and that is, I'm not exactly sure what stock he's looking at. I can't tell. I trade the short-lived bear market rallies and wait till a low emerges before really getting super long. Trevor Milton is a piece of shit. End of discussion. Don't know who that is. Analyze, think, plan, and act in April. All right. What's been your toughest challenges from Hydra? What's been your toughest challenge in trading? Fear of loss, FOMO, overtrading, an unprofitable strategy, or struggling to stick with one model? All right. MSTR puts ended up running to 2,000% plus. This is from Sean Trade to make it 10,000 a $10,000 week. This is the true power of options. 500 to 10,000, risk small to win big. Yeah, not sure about. Take a look at MSTR. MicroStrategy Incorporated. MicroStrategy had an all-time high of 543, even now trading down at 289.41. Looking at the week, on the week, it had a high of 343.59, finished at 289.41. All right, guys. Well, that is going to end it for me. We had a little bit of discussion of the market, looked at some of the X community's views on the market. If you like this video, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow on X, and engage, guys. Reply, quote tweet, trying to build up this community on X, and use the affiliate links in the description box below if you are on YouTube.